Today we're going to be learning how to set up your Sony camera for real estate photography and real estate video. Today I'll be using the Sony A7 III. Now let's jump into how to set up your camera for real estate video. Lens compensation, you're going to leave that on auto. For video, the picture profile that we prefer to capture all of our stuff in is under PP6. So if you go to PP6 and you select Cine 4, S Gamma 3 Cine, and then go to your black gamma and turn the level up to +7. Go back, click to confirm that you're in PP6, and that's the picture profile that we like to use. So we want to be able to shoot all of this in 4K. 4K on these Sony cameras just look head and shoulders better than 1080. We like to shoot all of our content in 4K if possible. Now, our base frame rate should be 24 frames per second, 24p at 100 megabits per second. This allows us to have the best low light capability because you get your shutter speed as low as possible and keep your ISO as low as you can. Now, Steady Shot is a powerful tool that you can utilize when you're shooting video. For me, I have a really high quality gimbal, and so often I will turn it off when I'm using that gimbal. But if you have a gimbal that isn't the highest quality, this will really help stabilize those shots and have them be rock solid. Or if I'm shooting handheld, absolutely, I am turning on Steady Shot. It is a lifesaver to remove all those little jitters out of your shot. Now we're gonna jump into our zebra settings. So I really enjoy zebra settings, and this is how I like to have them set up. Make sure it's turned on and the zebra level is turned to 100 plus. So this is gonna tell you that anything that is over 100% is overexposed. So where you see the zebra stripes, that is an overexposure. So you know that that's gonna be clipped and it's not gonna look right. But sometimes like light bulbs or the sun is gonna be clipped, and that's fine. If there's an item like a wall inside a home that has zebras on it, that means that's clipped. That means you're not gonna see any color on that wall. And so you need to adjust it and pull your exposure down to darken the image. I always like to have my rule of thirds grid on when I'm shooting. It helps me to frame better as I'm shooting the image. So for video, this is how I have my custom menu set up. I love to have Steady Shot accessible. I like to have my picture profile accessible to PP6. I like to have my recording meters for audio, just in case I'm recording a person talking. I can tell how loud the audio is on screen. And then we'll jump over to 4K and our 24 frames per second and my zebra settings. Now, when you want to throw in a slow motion shot, say it's the bathtub water coming out of the faucet, or it's a swimming pool that has bubbles, that has jets in it, or it has a hot tub that has water spilling over the edge, then you go to HD and you switch your record settings to 120 frames per second and 100 megabytes per second. So this allows us to go in, capture that fast motion, and then slow it down and do a slow motion shot in our editing software. But make sure you don't shoot a whole home with this. That's really only meant for detail shots because the quality is degraded and it's not as sharp. So as soon as you're done shooting that slow motion detail shot, make sure you jump back here and jump back into 4K, and it'll bring you right back to the same frame rate that you were using previously. We're gonna jump in and just take a quick look at our quick selection menu. So ISO, for the outside, we shoot auto, but anytime we're indoors, we're almost always setting it manually so we can tell our exposure. You're gonna want continuous autofocus, but for my camera, I used to have it on wide, but like say a wall was passing by the edge of the frame, it would catch that and then throw the whole rest of the room out of focus. So I stopped using that and I started using either flexible large spot or using expandable flexible spot. And so you can kind of adjust this around the screen as you need. It's a great focusing tool. For the exterior and the interior, I'm pretty much always using auto white balance. For video, it pretty much gets it right. But just in case, if you're in a room that's really difficult, it's not getting the color right, then you can jump here and put in your manual Kelvin color balance. And then for metering as well, I like to leave it on a full picture readout. And so when you're setting your exposure, here's your meter and you can set it accordingly. Now your histogram is equally as important right here on the screen. So on the display button, you press it to cycle through the different on-screen information. So I love here, in this mode, you can see your audio meters and your histogram. So to properly expose the histogram, you want to double your shutter speed, double what your frame rate is. And then typically for the inside, you're gonna have your f-stop as low as possible to let as much light in through the lens. And then so to brighten this image up, we're just gonna have to take up the ISO. Our meter says, okay, now we're at 100 and we're not quite blowing out the white chairs here, but if we keep going, you see how the zebra stripes pop up? And so that lets us know that those chairs are totally blown out. That means we have zero information we can pull in from there, and it's gonna be a solid blown out image. So we don't want that. Furniture, walls, we need generally no zebras on there. And so we're gonna bring it down until those zebras disappear. So now we know that none of that is clipped. Now that you have all of your settings appropriately set for videography, we're gonna jump back in and save that in our memory area. So here, we're gonna jump down to our memory. I like to save it on area 2. So you just come to, confirm, and it's registered. Now when you flip your dial to 2 or you flip your dial to 1, you can instantly switch between real estate photography settings and real estate video settings. I hope this was able to help you out to save a lot of time when you're out at your photography shoots. Have fun shooting.